Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I am Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping people get their finances in shape. How you doing today, Dope?
Man, it was 80 degrees today. It was a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yeah, it was 80 degrees here in the Washington, D.C. area too, thank God.
Oh, yeah.
But tomorrow it's going to drop all the way back down to about 50 to 48. I mean, that's an amazing drop, by the way.
No, we're not going that low.
Yeah, we going that low. That's kind of strange. But that's the days and times we in. Unpredictable times, unpredictable weather. But somehow, Dope, we tend to make it through somehow.
Yeah, my brother.
So just want to remind the folks that please remember to click on the like button and the heart button because those kind of things help us reach more people. And we encourage you today to put more comments in the comment boxes. That even helps us exponentially reach more people when you use the comment box. And we love when we like to hear anyway, not just for, to help us increase our audience, but we like to hear from you anyway, because that's our way to make this interactive. So please do that. We really would appreciate that. And just want to say, Dote, it's been a weird week with the market. Some are way down and some are not as far down. So let's get into our number one top of the show topic, and that will be the stock market.
Yeah, and it has been strange. It really has. But let's take a step back and we look at 2022. Okay, the S&P 500 was down about 19% in 2022. Dow dropped about 9%. NASDAQ dropped 33%. But as we come to 2023, we started to see a little momentum in the stock market and things starting to go well. And the Fed, they've dropped the interest rates, raised interest rates pretty consistently since March of 22. And they got inflation down to about 6% from around, and it had been as high as like 10%. And the markets remained strong. The labor market stayed strong. Unemployment rate was still real low. And because inflation has been on the decline, Wall Street's been, everybody's hoping that the interest rates would cause the market to, get going. And the Fed's trying to do what's called a soft landing by lowering interest rates, but not to the extent that it causes a recession. Obviously, that's not their intention, but they got to slow it down enough to get inflation under control. And so it's like, it's not there yet, but people keep acting like, okay, this is enough. Okay, this is enough. And then the market gets a little momentum, but it's just not, it hasn't slowed the economy enough that the Fed is going to stop. So it's going to keep there. I think they're going to keep raising interest rates, and you're going to see the significant continued decreases in the Dow and NASDAQ, and especially the growth stocks, and until they get it under control. Now, when that's going to happen, nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. But as I always say, I look at this, for me personally, as a buying opportunity, because there are good companies that are swept up in the gloom of this higher interest rate, and the whole market's going down. But the market's going to rebound. And again, if you jump out and try to time the rebound, you're probably going to miss it. If you just hang in, focus on the good stocks, look for buying opportunities, you'll be ready when the market recovers. In every recession, the market has recovered. And so you have to kind of just say, this is how it's going to be for a while. It's going to be volatile. You're going to have your ups. You're going to have your downs. And hopefully, at some point, it's going to stick. So we look at the market for the last week. We had one big, really bad day. I think that was Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? One of those days, there was a huge drop in the Dow. But for the week, it's still down 500 points, and it's about 1.6%. NASDAQ's a little over that. It's about 2% down. And most of these stocks that follow the NASDAQ are down accordingly. Microsoft's down to 255. That's 2.7 drop. Tesla's held firm at 202, but it's been extremely volatile. It's up or down. And again, I've talked about before, they're starting to act like a normal car company and lowering their prices and trying to get the sales going, and it seems to be working. Apple's down slightly at 3%, and Pfizer's down 1%, but that's 2.3%. So it's going to continue to be volatile. I still like the stocks I have, and I'm going to look for opportunities to buy more of those for me personally, because I think once the market recovers, they'll be the first ones to start going up. But again, that's just my humble opinion.
Dope. I want to share a little insight when we look at this prior week close, current close, a change and things like that. I had a friend, getting ready to retire in March, and he was looking at he's in federal government, and he was looking at the thrift savings plan, and he was looking at the tables for the thrift savings plan, which is a 401k plan for the government, and he said, "Oh man, the S fund, which is small cap, it's up 10%. So my portfolio, my stocks and that has come back 10%." And I said, no. He was looking at the year to date, thinking that was the year over year. And the year to date is just from January to today.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that he had, recouped everything and he's 10% up. And it's no. So the year to date is just January to the date. And year over year is from whatever month, say February, is from February a year ago, 2022, to February 2023. So make sure y'all reading those tables correctly, because that's important. And you should always look at the tables, look at the year over year, the year to date, look at the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year. And if you're lucky, it being one that's been out there for 10 years, they're not, past performance is no indication what they say of future performance, but it does give you an idea how, how your funds were actually doing. It gives you some indicator. So
And Bob,
yes.
Well, one more thing. The other thing to remember is like a lot of people are looking at these declines. But again, if you go back, especially like in my case or your case, Bob, if you go back to when we started investing, and if you go back, say, 5 years and say, okay, had I not been in the stock market, you're still way ahead by having been in the market. Even with these declines, you're still way ahead of where you had been had you had money in a savings account. You're still way ahead because the market has gone up way more than it has declined in the past year, 12 to 14 months. So again, if you invest for the long term, these little declines will not affect your long-term goals of building wealth. And that's really how you have to look at it, and not get so caught up in what's happening right now and make any decisions based on what's happening right now. We always talk about it's the long play. It's the long term. And that's what you should be concerned with.
And we always talk about also have a goal, because my friend who's getting ready to retire, his fund is at 1.3 million, right? And he's worrying about when it was up way higher, right? Because he was in very aggressive. He was in over 67% in stocks in the C fund, in the S fund. And he did well, but he lost a lot by leaving it in there. But it dropped down to 1.3. Like you said, though, 1.3 is not bad. So
Right.
I told him, you need to make the decision. And I told him there's no right or wrong, it's what you feel. If you're comfortable at 1.3, you need to start mixing or reallocating your funds so you can preserve some of that if you cool with the 1.3. But if you want 1.6, you want to go to 2 million, then you might stay a little bit more aggressive.
Right.
Those are things you got to look at, y'all. It's not just black and white and vanilla, but we definitely need to look at it and track these and look at these indicators Once again, they just indicators to give you an idea, how the money's been moving, how it's been trending. So just wanted to share that tidbit with everybody. Let's get into the cryptocurrency market, though. Now, though, the cryptocurrency market is like today, the FDIC, the Federal Reserve, and the OCC, Office of Controller of Currency, which has the majority of the banks that supervise the majority of the bank. The FDIC just insures those, but they just put out a thing today about cryptocurrencies and the volatility, because what they're finding out, um, uh, information is showing that the majority of people in cryptocurrency are Black people, and they are really getting beaten up because the what they call institutional investors, put so much big money in back early days. They've taken all their profit out, but the person, small man who was just getting in, he's starting to take a beating. And you know what happened with FTX, with the fraud that happened with that, and they also got hacked. And then just the what's the word I'm looking for? The insecurity of, the volatility of cryptocurrency. But there's so much information out there. I know you people see that. So we always say it's the long play, but we also say know what you're getting into, because there's over 21,000 cryptocurrencies now, but only 9,000 of them are active. But the only ones that we sort of track are, we track sort of like the top 5. Normally, as they say, stay within the top 10. So let's talk about that. The cryptocurrency market, increased $22 billion, up from 1.1 trillion. Is now 1,125,000,000,000. It's now up to 1,147,000,000,000, which is up 2%. The Bitcoin didn't move that much, just $320, but yeah,
That's a lot.
that's a lot, though. I'm talking about it's not a lot. Actually, that's a lot, but that's per Bitcoin. So reason why I laugh, though, because if you don't have a whole Bitcoin, you just have pieces of Bitcoin, it's not actually $322, but you up. But the Bitcoin is now at $23,945. Remember, beginning of the year, it was like at 16,000. So if you had gotten in the beginning of the year, you'd be up that much right now. But
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there, because none of us are psychic. Then the Ethereum smart contract is up $9. Tether is just holding the stable coin, which is pegged to the dollar. Dogecoin and Shiba Inu have just been holding. They haven't been going up or down. They've just been holding. So I guess people are real skeptical of those. But that's what's happening with the cryptocurrency market. And not too much action happened this week. But for the past 3 weeks, it's been going up. Well, excuse me. Yeah, on average of 9%.
Yeah, it's been rolling. And I hope, like you said, a lot of Black folks are getting in that. I hope it's not like buying a lottery ticket. I hope it's thought out, that you realize how risky this is. It's no worry with it being part of your portfolio, but obviously you don't want to put the mortgage money into Bitcoin or your kids' college fund into Bitcoin, because it's extremely speculative, and there is nothing. We always look back at history. There's no history to look back on with anything like Bitcoin. So I hope you guys are acting accordingly, that it's extremely risky and speculative.
And Bitcoins were invented in 2009. So that's as far back as the information that we have. So that's the update, you all, on the market and on cryptocurrency. But today's topic, we're going to be talking about money moves to make.
Yeah, and let's get going with that. And last year, again, we started off by talking about how poorly the market's done last year. But the other thing, and since Bob and I are not in the job market anymore, we didn't really have a feel for this great resignation that's been going on. I was surprised to find how many people had basically quit last year, which is pretty amazing. And
That's quit working, right?
yeah, just quit or switch job, quit their job. Some of them might have gone to another job, but there was a mass resignation of people. Some of it was pandemic related, some of it was just people kind of fed up. And you had that going on. You got this ongoing cost of living crisis, and everything financially just seems crazy. I mean, right now it's really everybody's worried about a recession, and war's still going on. You got all kind of craziness going on. So a lot of people are afraid to do anything and invest in the market and worried about how am I going to retire or buy your forever home. So those are the kind of things that people are worried about. And personal finance, we always talk about how that's an individual thing. It's never one size fit all. You have to look at your own particular situation, how you think, how you live, what kind of money you make, how you feel about money, and those kinds of things. And so we talked about coming up with some things that you should still do no matter what the times are. And so we got into an article with 6 experts talking about some of the things that are solid moves to make even in these crazy times. And we'll give some insights on things like investing, retirement, tax planning, and hopefully try to keep it simple. And so you can come up with some things that can work for you and maybe alleviate a little bit of the stress and anxiety that's going on with all the craziness right now, and get your financial thinking on solid ground.
And like Doe said, there's so many things going on these days. I mean, in addition to things, we talk about mass shootings, we talk about the Congress, inflation, threat of a recession, and that's just to name a few. But there are so many things that we do not have control over. But the one thing we do have control over is the moves that we make with our money. Now, many people get paralyzed from the information overload. It's just so much that they end up not doing anything. However, the one thing you can't do is do nothing. Now, whether you are conservative or aggressive in your financial philosophy, you should always be moving forward. Always be leaving your money in a savings account that is giving you less than 1% on your money will not help you build wealth. So tonight, we just want to discuss some possible money moves that you can make in these trying times. Dope, you start us
Yeah.
off.
Okay. And the first one, it's always my favorite. And just about any topic that we talk about, this will always be at the top of my list. And that's when you talk about doing your plan or having a plan. But what we've never talked about is putting a price tag or putting numbers into your plan and your goals, not just your monthly budget. We talked about how important that is, but some of your other plans and goals, like how much money you'll save. Again, you can't control what the market's going to do. You can't control how your investments are going to do, but you can control things like, okay, I'm going to cut my debt this year by X. I'm going to save at least Y amount of money. Those are the kind of things you control. They're totally up to you. They're not affected by the market. And that can give you some peace of mind in all of this madness that, okay, I know at the end of the year, regardless of what happened, I'm going to have so much of my debt paid off. I'm going to have saved X amount of money over where I started this year. And I know the market volatility may affect your investments, but if you say, I'm going to save X amount, at the end of the year, you have that saved, then you've accomplished something this year. So try to quantify your plans, put numbers, real numbers, realistic numbers, and stick to them. And that can help ease some of the anxiety.
So what I try to do, though, when I talk to people about making money moves, I talk about how to think in this mindset of making your goals more concrete by putting a sticker price on them. and then turning that sticker price into a monthly savings contribution. And I know we talk about setting goals, but it's so important that you be definitive with uh, the number you put on there, because it helps you, it gives you a vision to shoot for, and it also gives you a way to track what you're doing. It can really help relieving a lot of anxieties, right? And putting a number on it, is a better way to track it. And it means you can eliminate the guesswork and stop hand wringing about whether you have too much or not enough money.
Yeah, and another one. This one's interesting because I think there's some good and bad in this one. And that's when you track your financial goals, you can also become aware of what's called lifestyle creep. And that's where you start spending more money, but you might get things a little bit better. Like you might have better schools, you might have better medical, you might have a lot of things that are better for you, and that's all well and good. You might have better health insurance because you make a little more money. But the only way you can know is if you keep track of these things by having a budget and make sure that lifestyle creep doesn't get out of hand by making more, spending more. That's the thing we always try to warn against. That's the thing I try to drill into my kids is I try to drill in their head that just because you make more doesn't mean you have to spend more. And when you're young, there's always those opportunities to make, let's call it upgrades in your standard of living, that next nice car or that next nice apartment or that next nice house. And everybody does that, and that's okay. But you have to make sure it doesn't get out of control, it doesn't get out of hand, that you try to live within your means, and even better is to live below your means and invest that difference. But in a lot of ways, lifestyle creep, it's always gotten a bad rap, but it's not necessarily bad. You just have to track, know what you're spending to make sure it doesn't get out of hand.
One of the financial advisors in this article that we are talking about said one of the hiccups that they find along the way, and this usually catch people off guard, is that people get confused about balancing their own personal finances with the needs of their family members. And that's just not your immediate, but this is your extended family members too. Because with these two goals, sometimes seemingly is in conflict with each other, and it creates a scarcity mindset that you don't have enough. So one of the things that we recommend is understanding your own finances first. Understand if you're on track to meet your financial priorities before blindly supporting other family members. This annual assessment can help you identify to what extent you can support the rest of your family members. I mean, if you literally don't have money to save for yourself, I mean, how can it make you more empowered to set financial boundaries with family members, knowing that your no is a well-founded no?
That's for sure. Okay, and the next one, we've talked about this before, but it's build or rebuild your emergency fund. And it's could never be more important than it is today. When we talk about the market and we talk about how strong the labor market is and how unemployment is so low, but at the same time, we're talking about the Fed trying to slow the economy down. Well, guess what they're looking for? They're looking for the unemployment rate to rise. They're looking for people to lay off people. They're looking for things to slow down. So nobody should be surprised that they get laid off now with the way times are. And you can feel you're in a secure place, you do a good job, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people are going to be laid off and have been laid off. Tech companies had the massive layoffs last month, but there's still more to come. And that's where your emergency fund comes in, and you'll be in a position to withstand that if it happens to you. And if it doesn't happen, guess what? You got a little extra money put away. But you cannot be surprised if it happens now. And so You get your emergency fund up. That gives you options. You can last a little longer if you do get laid off. You can look for that a special opportunity if you get laid off. And it's just really important with these crazy times we're having now is to make sure you're ready for anything that might happen.
So in this article, there was a woman who was forced to have this reassessment of her needs during the pandemic when her husband was out of work for 18 months. And now their emergency fund had only accounted for 6 months. So it's a good idea to revisit always the amount in your emergency fund, whether it was fully funded years ago or you just started, right? Your emergency fund should reflect the reality of what it would look like to pay your expenses for 6 to 9 months at your current rate of spending or extended. Now consider your children, consider your children, consider your elder care for dependents, as well as the health insurance and even the rising cost of groceries. So do the math on how much you need or may need to have in the bank to feel financially stable. And only you can determine what that amount is. And recent experiences made from this woman was like her want, and even she wanted even higher level of emergency expenses than she once thought possible. So that amount can change. So you should always revisit your emergency fund and how much you really need, especially with the cost of living going up. You might want to bump that emergency fund up a little higher. You need to figure out what size of safety net you need today and just start putting that money toward it.
And by the same token, you still can't miss the opportunity to increase your investing contributions, especially now. And we talked about dollar cost averaging while the stock market is down. If you're invested, you're buying shares at lower prices. And even if you just, every year when you get your raise, even if you just increase your savings percentage by 1%, that's positive. Okay, and I know inflation's beating the heck out of you and you're thinking you need all this just to get by. But if you get a 5% raise, had you only gotten 4%, you still would have been okay. You still would have continued living. So take 1% and put it away for your future. And a lot of people think in terms of retirement, and you got your IRAs, you got your 401ks. You can contribute to both so you're prepared for retirement. And again, that might make you feel a little more at ease, but you have to increase your savings at every opportunity you can. And once you do that, you put it in there and forget it and let it grow.
So, if you're already utilizing all your tax advantages, right? If you're already using those things, like your IRA, if you have an IRA in addition to your 401k or your health savings account, then consider a tax. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit hitting myself. I'm right.
You okay?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, I just think you need to consider a taxable brokerage account. Now, taxable brokerage accounts is an investment account which allow you to buy and sell investments like stocks and bonds and ETFs, exchange traded funds. Now, these may not give you a tax benefit, but they offer fewer restrictions and more flexibility than a lot of savings accounts. But like I said, this is if you already maxed out all your possible tax advantages. And some advisors in this article recommend you try index funds or exchange traded funds, which they grow more predictable over time. And remember, they're being passively managed, but they're being managed in a sort of time like the S&P index tied to how the S&P market is going. If it's go up, they put in certain stocks and bonds that go down, they put in ones that favor how the market is going. So, the amount you invest doesn't matter as much as that you simply getting started. And like me and Dope always talk about, the key when I talk about your financial philosophy that you keep moving forward, just keep making consistent contributions.
That's for sure. And here's another one I kind of beat on, but I can't beat on it enough. April 18th is the tax due date. You're going to have to do your taxes. There's no way around it. Do not wait till the last minute and do your taxes. You may end up owing a big amount, and then you have less time to react to it. You can kind of put yourself in a bad way. You got to file them. Do it, get it out of the way. Do it now. And if you do owe a chunk of money and you did your taxes now, well, you got 2 months to prepare for it. So it won't be a total shock when you file your taxes and find out that you do owe. In a perfect world, you would do your taxes and owe a little bit of money, because that means that Uncle Sam wasn't holding any of your money. You had all your money in your pocket working for you, and you have to write Uncle Sam a check on April 18th. And as I told you before, you can do your taxes now and file them. You just have to pay on April 18th. And everybody procrastinates. I think so far, I know one of my four kids have completed their taxes. I'm not sure about the other three, but the other reason, and I always mention this, is because someone can steal your identity, and if you file your taxes, obviously they can't. So you're going to have to do it. There's no use putting it off. Go ahead, get it done.
Now, whether or not you actually owe quarterly taxes might depend on how much of your income is from self-employment. For instance, if you have a regular job but you got a lot of side hustles, right? But where you have a day job and most of your income is on a W-2 as an employee, then you might not need to pay quarterly taxes. But despite that, April the 18th, which is this year extended, you should still be, it's still an important date for you, because it's the deadline to put your money in a retirement account and reap the associated tax benefits from the 401k, the IRA, and the traditional IRA, and the Roth IRA. It's so important. Don't wait till the last minute, because that's the deadline you have to be able to reap those tax advantages if you haven't taken them before.
And again, people wait to the last minute, see they owe all this money, and then they can't fund the IRA. Okay, you know this date's coming. It's every year around the same time. So start your planning process early. If you need to put money away to be prepared for the bill you have to pay on the 18th, start now. The sooner you get your tax bill, your tax filing done, the better you'll be able to figure out, if you do owe, how you're going to pay it. If you are getting a refund, that's even more reason to file early and get the money in your pocket. Even if you put it into a money market fund, it's paying 4%. That's still better than having Uncle Sam hold it for a couple of months. So again, get it done. April 18th isn't the start of tax season. It should be the end. So get your taxes filed, get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's important. I want to discuss about getting your future affairs in order. You know, we always heard most talk about getting your house in order, right? According to the 2016 study by Fidelity Investments, 69% of parents expect one of their children will help manage their investment retirement finances. Now, that's not after they die. This is why they live it. They're expecting this. Now, despite that statistic, more than 1/3, 36% of kids identify as filling that role that, you know, they wasn't even aware of, and it caught them off guard. It caught them unexpectedly. Now, beyond that, 2019 report by the Insured Retirement Institute found that 45% of baby boomers had no retirement savings at all. 45%, though. You know, but that's why it's important to start making your own, making your own in case of emergency plan. They call it the ICE, in case of emergency plan, and
Makes
talk
sense.
with your parents and elders about that too. Now, it starts with asking your loved ones. It's all about the question, like, what do you want? What do you want your retirement aging with dignity to look like? These are sometimes tough questions, to be having with your parents or your elders, uncles and aunts, grandparents. But you need to ask them the tough question: where will your money go? Now, some of them going to think you're trying to get rid of them, but these are questions you need to think about asking. Now, do you have a will? A lot of folks don't talk about funeral expenses because it's so morbid. And when they're older, you're afraid to have those conversations because you think it's, setting them off. But you better have them now than when it happened. And then you're running around doing the fire drill like Keystone Cops, trying to figure out how you're going to fund their funeral. Now, you need to have questions like who will take custody of the children, and not even just their children. How about just their pets? If they, had pets that they love and they have those, those are the kind of questions you need to be having, you all. Now, who would take custody of the pet? Or, it stirs up a lot of emotions and fears, but it's so important to ask these questions now more than later.
Yeah, and life's so unpredictable and so crazy. And so if you start again, it's inevitable. And you know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of making a plan to get your will done. If you need an estate plan, do that. A living trust, power of attorney, healthcare directive, all that stuff. Get it done. And it's talk to the people who are going to be involved, as Bob said, whether it's your family, if you're going to plan on leaning on them for your retirement plan, they need to know about it. And, you know, planning for retirement it's going to be different for everybody, and like where you plan to live, what your goals are, how much you plan on spending, how much you have put away, and all those kind of things. And so you got to prepare for what's going to happen at the end of that. And trust me, it varies state by state. All the little nuances in each state can heavily affect your how much money you have while you're living and retired, whether they tax your Social Security. Some states do, some states don't. Whether they tax your uh, IRA withdrawals. Again, some states do, some states don't. And some states, like PA, has a pretty hefty inheritance tax. So you have money saved, you leave it to your kids. Pennsylvania sticks their hand out and takes a chunk of it. And it's all kind of crazy things that happen. In Ohio, if there's no will and it goes to probate, uh, it might be held up because there might be other kids involved who can stake a claim on that estate. So it's so much easier. Now, I shouldn't say it's easier because it's a difficult conversation to have with everybody to talk about when they're going to die. But again, it's inevitable, and a lot of money can be lost by not having planned for what's going to happen 100%. It's going to happen. And we should at least minimize the amount of money we have to pay in lawyer fees, in inheritance tax, in the way your IRA is transferred to your kids. If it goes to your spouse gets a break. But if it goes to your kids, you know, in a perfect world, your kids will be making a lot of money, so they'll have to pay big taxes on it. There's things you can do as far as Roth rollovers and other steps you can take to lessen the tax burden on whoever you leave your money to. But again, unless you sit down, take the time, figure it out, it'll never happen. And we always talk about acquiring wealth, but it's just as important to maintain what you have. And the best way to do that is to prepare for the future.
And Maddie Ford offers for you FDIC employees. A lot of y'all are on this meeting that they provide lawyers to give you 25% off of putting together a living will. Maddie says she took advantage of that. Good for you, Maddie. Good for you. Now I know this all sounds morbid, so hang in there with us. But a lot of people be thinking that they have plenty of time to sort these affairs out, but that is not always the case. And I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about. So this is a good time to start off the year right by securing your family's future with plans that take into account both your needs and your wants.
Yeah, and Bob, we touched on a lot of the negative stuff, but one of the positive things you can do, given all this uncertainty and craziness and just volatility, is start a small business or a side hustle, and that's becoming much more popular, especially with the shrinking job market. I mean, if you sit down and look at some of the jobs. Uh, my last job, I was in charge of credit management, CPG, and it's one of those things. I looked at it and I said, "Wow, in 20 years, this job won't exist. So much of it is going to be computerized, and so many jobs are like that are really going to disappear." And so everyone should think about monetizing their talent and hobbies and see if you can find a way to translate that into making some money for yourself. It's going to be harder and harder to work for someone or a company as things continue to get tighter and things are automated more, and a lot of the things we do now are going to disappear. And you know, you got to have some talent or something that you ought to be able to translate and maybe make some money, make some money off of, or whether it's selling stuff or some kind of online service. There's a zillion things you can do to try to make money on the side just to increase your wealth, your income flows. So prepare you for the craziness that's happening in case you do lose your job, or just to increase your income stream. Take a look at different ways to make money and increase your wealth.
And this does not mean when we talk about a side hustle, for lack of a better term, it's not saying go out and get a 9 to 5. We're talking about something that you feel happy doing. Something, it could have been just a particular hobby that you have that can turn into a moneymaker. But make it something that you enjoy. I mean, now if you want to go out there and get another job, that's on you. But that's not what we're recommending, because right now, though, how long you been retired?
And it'll be 5 years in April.
Wow, it'll
Yeah,
be 6 for me in March. Yeah,
yeah.
6.
And Bob, I think Chris Rock said it best. He said if the difference between a job and a career, career is something you wake up and you can't wait to get going at. And a job is just that. It's a job, but typically you're working for somebody else. And it's a lot more exciting if you are working for yourself, even though it's not easy to do, and it has to be something that other people want and have to have a need for. It's so many folks who want to be singers but don't have singer talent, or want to be a dancer and don't have dance talent. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about something that clearly that there's a need for, there's a demand for, a gap in the market someplace that you can fill. And if you don't think about it, you ain't ever going to come up with anything. And you got to, times are going to continue to get tighter. The Fed is actually waiting for the unemployment rate to go up and the labor market to get weaker before they stop raising interest rates. So it's going to keep happening. Things are going to continue to go towards a recession, but nobody knows if there's really going to be a recession. But that's kind of where the Fed's headed.
And do you know the secret about the unemployment rate? Why it's so important to look at it? Because when it's low, it favors the employees. Because now, if your boss pisses you off or you get tired of that job, you can leave because you know there's other jobs out there available. But when the unemployment rate is high, it favors the employer because he knows you, there ain't no jobs out there for you to go to. So
Right.
that's why it's so important, when we look at the employment rate. Oh man, we got some retirees out here, man, talking about Matty Ford. She said, I've been retired for 5 years. Modestine, Modestine said, damn, Modestine, you've been retired. You retired before me? That's 7 years now? Whoa, man. That's been some time. Joy's gonna say interesting. I wonder how long my sister Linda been retired, because you've been out there for a while. But I mean, to all y'all people that retired, first of all, congratulations for, you know how they say about mugs that have been in the Army. I'd like to thank you for your service. Wait a minute, Carl Chapman. You've been retired for 9 years. You're younger than me. This mug, Carl was a fireman. I think you went as far as what do you call it, a captain or a sergeant, supervisor. I know you're a supervisor. Oh my God, Linda. Oh my God, my sister Linda been retired for 21 years. By the way, last week Linda turned 77 years old. I hope you don't mind me telling you that, Linda. Happy belated
It's too
birthday.
late now. You already told.
I know, but she ain't ashamed of her age though. But wait a minute. Oh, Garnett. Oh, I was wondering what you put in there. Garnett. Garnett, you've been retired since 2017. Hey, dope. The FDIC was good to these mothers. You see all these mothers retired from the FDIC? Look, got paid. Look, and I want to tell y'all got out while you could walk out. Because all them mothers I know, they look good for their age. So y'all doing it. Linda said it's okay. Thanks, Linda. But I know you ain't ashamed for me to tell your age. You proud of it. That's my sister. So everybody's wishing happy birthday. All right, dope. Let's go to the video. Let's go to the summary and takeaways and sum up, because we once again have talked a lot of information as we always do, but we always like to bring it home with the summary and takeaways.
Okay, and the first one, and again, it's always at the top of my list, being an ex-being counter, financial guy. Quantify your goals. Put numbers in it. Have a amount you plan to cut your debt by, amount you plan to grow your investments by. Put a number with it. Sit down and work on your plan, your budget, your monthly budget. Really get into it, quantify it, and make it happen.
Next, things you need to do it now. There's a show we thought about doing about the 7 habits of financial procrastinators. Do it now, you all. That's so important. That's the key. We put off so many things, like we said about putting the will together, then somebody passed, and then you're running around. Or you wish you had put more money in when the market was rolling. No, do it now when it's down. Don't try to time the market. So if there's things that you've been thinking about doing financially, do it now. And for you retired people, if there's things that you've been wanting to do, it is no excuse for y'all not to be doing it. Do it now.
And finally, oh no, not finally.
Not finally.
Always increase your investment amount. Even if it's a little amount, continue to increase what you save. And especially if you're young, if you start when you're young, and again, it gets into the thought of saving first, spending second. Do that immediately, and every year, make it a plan to increase your savings by at least 1%.
And lastly, don't talk about this. We talked about the side hustle. Increase your income streams. That's the name of the game. The secret to beating Uncle Sam, the secret to beating taxes is to make more money. Give Uncle Sam his 24 or percent, or if you're higher than that, and then take your 70-something percent. Don't try not to make more money. The key to beat taxes is to make more money.
Yeah.
Give him his little piece and put the big chunk in your pocket.
And
the more income streams you have, the quicker you'll be able to build that generational wealth that you're trying to do. So think about those hobbies that you can turn into some money makers, y'all. Think about some of the other things you can do. There's so many, right, especially online things now, that you could just be at home, sitting behind your computer and doing things. There's so many different things out there. Just Google it. Side hustles. You'd be surprised the type of jobs and ideas come up. So,
Hey Bob, I got to add one thing to that when you talk about making more money, but also educate yourself and look for ways to minimize your taxes. Don't try to cut your taxes by not making more money. As Bob says, the key is to make more money, but educate yourself on ways to minimize your taxes. And we can't stress educating yourself when it comes to financial literacy enough. It's just crazy important that you learn to prepare yourself for the future so you can be in a better shape in the future. But you have to educate yourself when it comes to financial literacy.
remember, it's basically 4 buckets. And that's the 4 buckets that we look at when you retire that you need to think about. You got the bucket that is taxable income. You got the bucket that is tax deferred. You got the budget that is pre-tax, like the Roth. And then you got the third one, which is called the taxable bracket, which falls into short-term and long-term capital gains. So those are only 4 buckets that you're going to be in. And the name of the game is the more buckets that is at your advantage that you can be in, the better off you will be. Rodney, thenoteexperience.com, Madison said, I have 3 more years, and I hope y'all do another show on retirement on what you wish you knew before you went out. Oh, that's a good one, because I'm sure me and Dope have some conversations on that, Rodney. We definitely would consider that. So as we always do before we leave out of here, I'd like to shout out, because we just don't take it for granted that y'all be on here. And we really appreciate y'all and hope you continue to share this with your family members and friends. But Garnett, congratulations on you being retired. Joanne, always good. Rodney, my sister Linda, happy belated birthday. And man, my main man, Tommy Thompson. What's up, Tommy? Tommy was director of assets in the accounting at the Resolution Trust Corporation, which rolled into the FDIC. Did a lot of things, Tommy. We hope to have you on this show one day, because I know you got a lot of information that you can share that can really help people. Modestine, as always, girl, thank you so much for being on with us. And Maddie Ford, can't never forget you, Maddie. And Kitty Cheney was on. Thank you, Kitty. My sister. Oh, geez, both my sisters. That's right. Linda retired right behind my sister Gloria. Gloria's been retired for 21 years too. Man, the kids and family's rolling. I think everybody's retired in our family except one. But thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all for being on here. Thanks, Linda, for saying great show. Thanks, Bob. Once again, we're here every week, y'all. Next week will be the 30th. No, we don't have 30 days in February. I never understood that, though. How come we had Black History Month in the shortest month of all the months? But that's okay. I'm just glad we got 28 days. But it's going to be the 2nd. March the 2nd is the next show. Those who tune in, the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. Make sure y'all go out there and share this information. And you can go and look at our archives of a lot of the old shows. In case Rodney, you should look at that show that we did on marketing. On retirement. It's out there. But we definitely, you, Maddie, you funny. Maddie said you Black. That's why. Oh, we got. I love our crew. So look, y'all. Stay tuned for next week. Make sure bring some more people out. We would love to have more people, because we want all our people to raise their boats. Because there's no reason why you should be not financially well off. Don't matter how much money you make, you all is what you do, what you make. So make sure y'all let these people know. Let them know about the FITT Show. Take it easy and have a great week. Love you, Dope.
Love you too, man. Peace.